Greetings. Right. I probably should have mentioned this is also a Q&A. And if you're wondering, that's my cat in the background. So don't mind that. Chase, what's up, man? What's up? Thoughts on sorry, Slonimsky. I never really checked out Slonimsky, to be honest. I probably should, so let me make a note of that. Messiaen mode topic. Oh yeah, I did briefly talk about that, I remember. The only mode that I actually spend time with and kind of know is mode 3, I think. It's basically one fragment of 1, 2 and flat 3. Go up a half step and do the same. Half step again. It's a little weird, but it can be used compositionally, even for improv. It's like a minor version of Coltrane, really. So I think I'd rather do a lesson on it fully, to actually sit down and properly explain it and not have my cat in the background crying like that. Was I playing Spain? I wasn't playing Spain. Damn, I'm slurring. Yeah, so Messiaen mode. I'll make a note of that as well for a lesson on the channel. Cool. So anybody, any questions on major scales? Nala. I think she wants to be a part of the stream. Slominski, that's what it is, not Slonimsky. Man, I completely read it wrong and I got it wrong. Cool. So I wanted to talk about major scale, about the major scale in general for this live stream. People are often under the notion that you don't get much out of the scale, but actually it has so much to offer. And because it's so cohesive and very simple, it's often fun. Let her out. She's right there. She's just crying. Nala. Nala. Come here. Yep, there she comes. Yes. And she's scratching my amp. I wish I could show you guys this. Hey. Favorite fingerings. I love positions that make me stretch with quartal notes available. Quartal notes are just fourths, basically. That kind of a thing. So I think I shared this before, but if you do something like this is a D major, let's say. So I do Yep, so that's something I like to do. Stretched fourths. Hello. Thank you. Nice to hear from Mexico City. Take 5 minutes for your cat. You can wait. Yeah, maybe I should do that, but let's see. Why is playing changes so hard? It is hard because the conception in the head is very wrong. People often complicate it. People often misunderstand it. And it's also taught wrong, in my opinion. It's not as difficult. Of course, depending on the nature of how the harmony is laid out, it can be hard or harder. But fundamentally, playing changes is not difficult. If you take diatonic chords and try to play melodies on top of it, it shouldn't be too difficult. But a lot of guys, without knowing just a simple major scale, want to try to play, just but you have to know your scale. Right, so at its core, playing changes is not hard, but it all depends on how you're going to approach it and how honest you are with your approach too. Maybe she's saying tuna time, or I don't know what she's trying to say. She just woke up actually, so she's going to be loitering around. I think she planned it. She literally jumped out of bed a minute before I went live, so she knows she's trying to destroy my career, my YouTube career, if there is such a thing, really. Hello. Hi, Thomas. Thank you. And welcome to the live stream. This is a lot of fun. It's a nice way to connect with you guys. So another thing with the major scale that's really fun is string skipping. I know Jeff Berlin talks about practicing string skipping without context is no music, which is true. But I found a lot of melodic ideas from string skipping. It just gives good direction to your lines overall. So a simple pattern you can try to use if you're in the key of C major is and then you can flip the direction around. Is that right? Yeah. So it's hard to flip the direction because of the way the strings work. Right? So that's something worth exploring for sure. How to create good jazz line? That's a very, very unclear question. A good jazz line could be, or it could also be what's the lick? Any tip for static chord improvisation? You can try to. There are two ways to do this. It's either you think melodically or harmonically, and I did do a lesson on this. I did do a lesson on diminished harmony hacks as well, where I talk about using certain concepts of the diminished scale on a single chord situation. So I would recommend you check that out instead of me taking up the time on the stream. Yeah, that's in Neely. Skips sound cool in general, not just Dorian or Mixolydian. I've said this 100 times already. I'm not a big fan of modes, but string skipping in general, it's a lot of fun. Also for bassline ideas and just overall ability to actually play stuff. There's actually a song that I recorded on my friend's album, this piano player I traveled with to Russia last year. His bassline it was weird because he wrote it from the keys perspective, and on the bass it's hard to translate because of the skips. What is... Damn, I already forgot it. Yeah. It's hard. Those kind of moves are hard. Of course, the likelihood of playing that on a regular basis is low, but it's good to practice that. Explain the index pinky slide major scale. I'm not sure I understand your question about that. Maybe in F and B. Why am I not a fan of modes? If I could choose between 7 different things or 7 different angles versus one parent angle which governs the 7 essentially, I'd rather go towards the parent side. It's like building a house. You know, sure, you need cement, you need bricks, you need whatever you need, but they're essentially building materials. So I'd rather think, study, focus on building materials as opposed to the literal materials. So modes, I think they take up too much time and they keep you confined in a little box, and I hate that because I was in a box for a long time because I was like, hey, I know my Dorian But when I play a 2/5, my Dorian sounds like crap, my Mixolydian sounds like crap, and my Ionian resolution sounds like crap, because it was a very crappy approach. So it's bound to sound like crap, and that's a lot of craps in one sentence. So I'll stop saying it. What I have in mind in relation to major scales, basically enhancing the thought process and overall approach to major scales, instead of just being generic about it to practice your hand-ins or your scalar ideas and just being robotic about things. The major scale has a lot more to offer. So I was actually hoping I'd get questions thrown in certain contexts of the major scale, but I'm still waiting on it. Let's see. Can I play my favorite pattern in major scale, and please can you play inside the outside? Nala. What? Come here. Say hi. Say hi. Ah. There she is. The jazz cat. Right, so have you figured out where you're going to go? My favorite major scale pattern has to be this. Okay, I'm not going to break that down. This video is going to go up on the channel once I'm done, so check it out. How do I go in and out of that? I just switched key centers, but I did it with a big jump. So that's for you, Mr. Lucas. Yeah. Do I plan on creating intermediate to advanced based instruction books? Yes, I do. What kind of materials in the beginner improv book? The beginner improv book is very beginner. It's extremely basic and very much grounded in major scale harmony. It talks about the essentials that you would really need to get you started in the right direction. If you feel stuck, I would recommend that book because it's worked with a lot of people who have bought it, and I'm happy it has. Diversify fills during a song. Is my bass clipping? Hold on. I hope that's better. Diversify fills during a song. I would highly recommend focusing on the actual melody of the song. Sometimes I actually take out the vocal melody and I play it as a bass fill. Sometimes not even where I'm supposed to play a fill. I would play that instead of a groove, just to change things up, and that keeps it interesting as well. So that's something you can probably look at. Yes, One-Eyed Donkey. I love your name, by the way, your channel name. I will definitely do a polyrhythmic bass groove idea lesson. Yeah, Nala wants to say something about modes. Okay, hold on. How do I think on playing on modal tunes? Generally, she's really distracting me. Hold on. Give me a second, people. Let me go tend to her needs. There's no way I can stop this and start back. So I'm just gonna let this run. I'll be back. Yo, what up? Huh? What do you want? Right. She's hopefully she's gonna not be too troublesome. Excuse me. All right. Yes, all right. You can hang out. How do I think on playing modal tunes? I think I spoke about this in a lesson before, where I like to think away from the chord. So if I have a C major 7, I don't want to think C major scale directly. Similarly, if I have a D minor 7, like if you take a song like Impressions, I don't want to think D Dorian. I like to think C major. It gives me a better sound and better perspective overall, and it can keep me running with ideas instead of getting stuck in a box, right? So I like to go away from the chord, generally try to find ideas from the third or the fifth of the actual chord. That helps. All right, so if you feel the immediate need to resolve to the one, the only way to fix that or to break away from that is to actually sing. Because when you sing, naturally your resolutions also vary. So sing your ideas out. That's why I always recommend singing when you practice a lot. Okay. How do I personally develop melodic ideas from the major scale in ways that don't sound intervallic or stale? Well, that's a tricky one to answer, but Nala has the answer for you. The main thing is to identify what sounds like an exercise and what actually sounds like music. Does this sound like music to you? If that sounds like music to you, that's fair. It's very subjective. I can't go around correcting somebody's perception on things. But if this sounds like an exercise to you, then I'd be like, why? Because it's intervallically spread. But I'm not going up very sequentially like an exercise. But I'm spreading and taking my time. Right? So it is essentially that, the ability to actually separate what is actual practice versus what is actual expression and perception, really, because a lot of things that used to sound like practice to me in the past sounds musical to me now. So it can also change at any point. So it's really hard to have one specific answer to this. Okay, I'm falling back on the questions. Where did I learn music? I went to college for a bit in Malaysia. I got kicked out of college, and I've been self-taught, and I learned everything on gigs. Gigs are the real school for me, and the shed at home, basically. Okay. When practicing something new, when do you know you got it and ready to move on to something else? It's very hard to say. If it's something technical and if you feel fairly comfortable, move on. If it's a transcription, you're able to play it at a decent speed. Depending on whether the transcription is the main goal or the speed is the main goal, that would vary too. So it's the overall context of what you're actually practicing which can change at any given point, and that is very important for you to understand before you try to move on or move away and move into something else. Meow, Nala. Yes, Nala is being very annoying. She's just trying to piss me off, I think. I won't claim to know all my notes on the neck, but I would definitely say I know my neck well enough. I know my instrument inside out. Oi! What? What do you think about major scales? Huh? Come here. Right, so it's hard to say that you know your notes in and out, but you can know your instrument inside out, which really would help enhance whatever you study and you try to study. In the context of singing, how playing away from a chord on the major scale could be applied. Okay. If I play a C major 7 right now, and I'm going to sing an A minor scale. So now I'm going to play an A minor 7 and I'm going to sing the C major 7 scale. I mean C major scale. Right? It's slightly unconventional, but it's very melodic, and it's got this space because of how far the chord is and how close the melody notes are, right? So that is what I mean by chord away from chord and singing it. So you could either do it in many ways. Hold on. Cat prefer melodic minor. Yeah, she doesn't like her major scales. Do you play, wait, I need to scroll back up. Do you play intervals on the notes of the fretboard when you sight read? How? Hold on a second. This woman is after my life today. This is going to be a long night, fellas. And lady, if there is a lady here. Hey. What? Right. You swear to God, the cat just said, wow. Man, I love YouTube. YouTube has the best comments and most fun people. Anyway. When you sight read, it's very hard to determine the perfect position. So what I like to do, I think I spoke about this the last time, is if you have a sheet music, I try to find the lowest note on the sheet and the highest note, map that out. So if my lowest note is, let's say for example G, and my highest note is this F, so I have this entire region to think about. But let's say I have 4 notes, G, C, D, G, C, D, E. I could do right? But then the next note is a high F. I'm screwed right now. What do I do? There. Now obviously when you try to sight read, it's very hard to nail it this way, but practice positioning in such a way that you are ready to play any note. So that's why you take sheet music, lowest note, highest note, and then work it out. How to play away, in and out tonality. In a nutshell, a tonality that's outside of the inner tonality is also an inner tonality, if that makes no sense. If I want to play C major 7 to E flat major 7, they are related to each other, but they are on their own specific harmony, right? So if you know your 12 major scales inside out and you want to switch between maybe 3 different major scales, you should be able to do it because you know it, right? And if you know it on your neck as well. So if I'm playing C major and I suddenly want to switch to E flat major, C major, E flat major 7, G major, E, D, so on and so forth. So an in is in, out is out, yes, but they're all ins on their own. So know that and then approach it. How would I approach Joe Henderson's Inner Urge? Let me see. So that's then, man, I can't remember the changes. But okay, anyway, if you have F minor 7 flat 5 going to F major 7, okay, there's literally one note that's different from the two chords. Okay, you know what, let me quickly write this down on my little whiteboard here. See, and just when I need to write, I can't find a marker. There you go. Oh, there. B flat D, D flat F, A flat C. Okay, I've written here the first 4 chords of Inner Urge. Okay, if you look at the first 2 chords, the main difference is the F sharp going to F, and now the next chord is an E flat major 7. So this entire shape goes down a whole step, and then the next chord is D flat major 7, the entire shape goes down a whole step. Okay, now the major 7s, the E flat and D flat, and even the F, if I'm not mistaken, they are all sharp 11s. So the sharp 11 is also moving down with it. So B, A, G, right? So everything is moving in such a specific direction. What I like to do is, if I just take these 4 chords alone, I try to create some kind of motion with the voicing. So for instance, I can focus on the root notes of the chord. So F sharp, F, E flat, D flat. Take that as a melodic idea. It kind of gives you a diminished shape. Okay, now I take the next. I have A, G, F. right? So that is giving you like a shared tone, whole step, whole step. Then C, C, shared tone, C to B flat, whole step, B flat to A flat, whole step. And then E, E, shared, E to D, D to C. So every note has purpose and intention in the harmony. Unfortunately, when you try to improvise, it becomes hard to think that way real time. So if I have F minor 7 flat 5, I would play A melodic minor, which is, it gives you the F minor 7 flat, F sharp minor 7 flat 5 with the 9. So when I'm playing all these ideas, I'm trying to keep this little thing in mind of how the chord and the voicings are moving one by one, because what people get carried away with is like F sharp minor 7 flat 5, F major 7, or let's say a 2 5 1, C minor 7 F7. People go C minor 7 F7, you know, which is fair, but it's C minor 7 F7, right? So while the chord moves, the actual depth of harmony is not moving entirely. You can see that here in these two very different chords. There's this one note that makes the difference of the chord, and then this whole step motion and this whole step motion. But then if I take the sharp 5, or sorry, the sharp 4 or 11 into the equation, it moves differently again. So it all depends on what angle you attack it from. But generally this is my go-to approach for standards, especially tricky ones like Inner Urge or any Wayne Shorter, Coltrane changes and all that stuff. So I will definitely do more detailed lessons down the road on this. So thanks for that question, man. Okay, what's the negative of G Phrygian? I have no idea. I need simpler words. I'm a very simple guy. What's the cost of living in Dubai? Cost of living here is pretty high. I primarily do gigs. I teach online. So that's my two main sources of money. And I also own a company now. So hopefully I can do some business. How do you approach classical like Bach? You really need to know how to read. Yeah, you need to know how to read, and you really need to know your arpeggios and scale patterns. A lot of the music involves that, but it's insane because Bach's music is a classic example of major scale melodies, which are kind of like an exercise, but they are so melodic. It used to bother me so much. It still bothers me, actually, if I'm being honest, how he did that. He's the all-time great, man. He's undisputed. How to memorize complex song structures for a concert? Melody, and then harmony. Bass line, if you have a written bass line specific to the music, cool. But generally, you want to try to remember the melody. The melody is the main highlight, and the harmony is the second highlight after that. So those two things help glue together the actual entire song in its structural form. It's hard to make up chords that don't sound like crap. Yeah, playing chords on bass is hard, but it's also fun because you don't have to use too many notes and you get beautiful sounds because of the tone the instrument produces. Integrating major and major pentatonic phrasing in different positions across the neck. Okay, for a second, imagine there exists no position on the instrument, okay? So you got the bass for the first time. Now, ask yourself this: if I learn these 5 notes and then I try to go, oh cool, naturally I'm going to go finding it everywhere else, right? So that is how many positions? I don't even know, to be precise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 positions on a 4-string jazz bass with 20 frets. Okay, but I didn't think of it as positions. I just looked at it as options. So what I used to do before was I used to draw a fretboard, or I used to print it out, and I used to write all the 12 notes, 0 to 12th fret on the 4-string. Write each note with the enharmonic equivalent, and then take a scale and just circle all the notes which belong to the scale. And you will start to see the scale like nothing you have seen before. Now I showed you 5 positions, but there's a 6th one and a 7th, right? So we neglect that because it's not conventional, and we are taught position, 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 and position again, right? So it's important to chuck position, the thought process of position, and move on to just the entire neck. That's what I spoke about in my lesson on how to practice scales. You start with positions and then get that on the side and then move on. You need to expand to the entire instrument. Just think of it this way. Imagine a drummer who only practices his snare drum, just his snare, but he's forgotten everything else. How are you going to maneuver the entire drum kit without actually maneuvering it? But you can play your snare drum. Doesn't make any sense, right? So the same logic has to apply to the bass with scales. Do I recommend metronome? I think the same way as Jeff Berlin, but just to clarify, what Jeff Berlin says is, he never said don't use it ever. Using a metronome is great to help fix your time feel, playing on top of the beat, behind the beat, ahead of the beat, and rhythmic concepts. It's great. But what Jeff talks about in the context is completely misunderstood, because he says if you're learning something new, if you're learning material, you need to get down the material first. If I want to play Tonality and I still haven't worked out and I put a metronome, now the focus is gone away from the notes to the metronome. In that context, a metronome is wrong. Ooh, she's back. Nice. Right? So that's what I would say. Use the metronome wisely. Don't go there first. Use it eventually. You learn something new, get it down, get it proper, get it on your fingers, get comfortable with it, and then you can sit down with the metronome to expand it into something else. Thank you, really appreciate it. Sometimes my solos irritate me, but I just try to keep pushing and, hitting the shed. Nala, what are you doing? She doesn't know what she's doing. She's just walking around now. Cool. I like the questions today. Pretty intense. I feel like I'm sweating, or it's probably this light. Did I miss anybody's questions? Nothing so far. Yeah, Bill, that's a great way to actually practice stuff overall. Have I ever been in a situation that I lost interest in playing? Yes. Not lost interest, but just demotivated. I have my moments, man. I start questioning myself. Am I doing the right thing in life? It's not easy. You know, it's fun. Yeah, people look at you, your schoolmates, and they're, yeah, you do music. That's fun, but it's hard. It's so hard, and it's a challenge. You know, so those moments come and go. But the important thing is to keep fighting and just keep doing what you do. You know, so keep on keeping on. How do I push my speed limit? I'll answer that shortly. What song is that? That was Softly as in the Morning Sunrise. John Coltrane, what's the name of this song? I don't get your question. What kind of gigs do you do? A lot of mainstream gigs, just lobby gigs, or just whatever really. From the earning perspective, but I do play my own stuff on occasion, which is basically where I exhaust all my earnings. But generally anything goes for me. As a working musician, you have to, because you can't be a diva unless you're at a certain level. So it is what it is. Where would I prioritize the major scale? Man, I put the major scale first, right up there. In fact, this sounds exaggerated, but if you've been playing for a certain number of years, take out like a full year dedicated to just the major scale. Think about the permutation possibilities in one scale, in one key. 7 notes, 5,047 ways to play 7 notes times 12. That's already a gazillion ways to play your major scale. And that is just literally the scale permutations. You take arpeggios into the equation, which become 4 notes. So you have 4 notes per 7. So 28 arpeggio permutations in one key. No, not permutations. 28 starting points, because you have 1, 3, 5, 7. So I hope you're getting the gist of what I'm saying. You can go on for ages. So the major scale really has to be home before you move on, and it could take a year, it could take 10 years, and that's nothing wrong with it. But when you do move on to bigger and stronger things, it'll be so grounded. That's the beauty of the major scale, and that's why I keep stressing out on the major scale, stressing on it a lot. Oh, thank you, Mr. Coffee is a drug. Coffee is a drug, by the way. Can I show example of extensions? Yes, I can. Is it true that the Lydian is more major than Ionian? Well, it depends. What is major to you? What is minor to you? To me, even this is major. You know, so perspective. It's all about perspective. It's very hard to definitively say, yeah, that's it. This is it, and that is how it is. I don't like to be extremely conclusive. Yes, there are definitive ways to practice, but perception is very subjective. So don't be fixated on certain ideas based on some YouTube video of some guy, maybe even me, I don't know, but just don't get fixated on it and just try to put your thought to it as well. Walking bass lines within a major scale. I would highly recommend just moving around the scale. Let's say you're playing a blues. No, not a blues. Let's forget the blues. Let's do Autumn Leaves. And I start on C. Okay, if you start Autumn Leaves on C and just go down the B flat major 7 or major scale, you will land on the chord tone on every downbeat, the root note in fact. So if you start on the third, you're going to start resolving on the third. So that's a very good way to practice walking bass lines in a major scale context. Okay, I'm just going to scroll up really quick to this question. How do you push your speed limit? Literally just trying to push. There is no way to play fast without actually trying to play fast. People say, you want to play fast? In order to do that, I have to actually try to do that. So see, now that was a little weak. But I won't go down here this slow, because to play that slow requires different movement and muscle. Right, so that's how you try to build speed. What major scales are needed to learn? All 12 of them. All of them. All. I can't say that enough number of times. Have I ever felt like you're going to forget a certain thing, like riffs and phrases? I have had moments where I forget. I mean, the heck, I actually forgot my own song live. I forgot a hook. It happens, but that's why I record all my gigs, just so I can come back home and kick my ass for remembering or for forgetting weird stuff, or so it depends. How to teach yourself to improvise walking bass line? When you play with backing track, you lose harmony motion for sure. Harmony motion is not just inspired by practicing harmony and ideas, but it's also inspired by musicians. When I play walking bass lines with whatever backing tracks are available online, I play a certain way, like an exercise, almost all the time. But when I play live with good musicians, it inspires ideas, and often I try to walk along the lines of the solo. So if somebody is playing a really killing solo, I have a great time walking, because it's like the entire thing is open. I can just go at it. It's going to be fun. The guy's burning. Oh, he's playing very mellow, very motific. So I can change up there. So it's important to understand that you can keep practicing with your backing tracks, but it won't inspire after a certain point. Inspiration can only come from playing with actual people. That's an interesting question. I not a lot, but I do tend to practice unplugged sometimes, like when I sit down and watch TV, just purely for muscle. But I won't say there are actual benefits from it. I don't do it as a very strict regimented routine, but I do it as a fun thing. But an amp would be great. Doesn't have to be a big blasting amp. And I wouldn't recommend headphone amps either, because headphone amps isolate the sound way too much into your ear. So you get used to playing to that kind of an environment, but playing with an amp can really bring out all the dirt in your playing. So yeah, it all depends on what you can do with what you've got. So yeah. Oh man. So now I'm just taking a B flat major scale and just trying to improvise ideas. Ooh, sorry, I didn't see those questions. If you're going to get another bass, what mode do you like? What brand? Right. Okay. I'm actually waiting on my custom bass from Marciu. He's a luthier in France, Tom Marciu. He built Hadrian's first bass and a bunch of other guys in France. I really like. It was nice to collaborate with him and come up with this instrument. So I should have it by the end of the month. So besides that, I don't know. I don't think I'm interested. Maybe I'll get another Squier P bass and another Squier fretless. I'm cheap like that, but they sound great. I can't help myself. So how high is my bass action? Not so high, not too low. Just the right amount for me to play with a good dig for groove and good speed for shredding. Are there actual finger positions with frets like on upright first and second? There are. The upright position playing doesn't translate to the electric bass, but some of the concepts can be used, like the usage of the ring finger on the lower position is avoided. Go up. When you go to thumb position, it comes out. So those kind of things can be kind of used. But besides that, not really, in my experience at least. Oh, the chord Jeff Berlin bass is pretty nice, by the way. Sure thing, Mr. Jose, is it? Yeah, Jose. I hope it's correct. Thank you, Niho. Much appreciated. How can you substitute melodically in certain chord progression? It's like what I showed earlier. Find relative major or minor. So you have a minor chord, go up to the major. You have E minor 7, go to G major 7. Simple stuff like that. Use that as a substitution. Forget about this whole outside mumbo jumbo. Not that I don't use it. I use the mumbo jumbo a lot, but that's where I started. Actually, I didn't even start there. I started over here. Just to give you an idea of how much you really need. Basics can't be neglected whatsoever. Okay? Chord controlling first before diving into scales. I would rather dive into scales first and then chord tones, because if you flip the equation, you're getting comfortable with more number of notes as opposed to chord tones, which is only 4 at any given point. So scales first and then chord tone. That's my take. That's my approach. That's what I use with students as well. Isometric spider and finger and all that stuff, I'm not a fan. It doesn't prepare you to play anything. You want to play Flight of the Bumblebee, you have to play Flight of the Bumblebee. I could do this all day long, but that had nothing to do with it. So at the end of the day, it's up to anybody who's watching this and anybody who wants to practice. Context. You could practice your spider and cockroach, octopus, whatever it is, but if it's going to help you make music, sure, but I don't think it's going to. Why waste time? Just learn music. How good did it feel when Hadrian followed you on Instagram? It felt great. I've been a fan and follower of Hadrian, and he's been aware of my videos that I've done on him, and I did transcriptions of him in the past. It was also because me and Jeff interact a lot on Facebook. He was also aware of that, so it's definitely nice to be on the radar, if not in person, globally speaking, or geographically speaking rather. It's nice to be on somebody's radar thanks to the internet. That's the beauty of the internet. Are you a fan of BN shifting, half step and solo? You mean like this kind of thing? I hate that stuff. I hate it with all my heart. It doesn't have any melody. It doesn't have any heart. It's just like, I can do this. Oh, I can do that. It's like, what's the point? Everything should have some level of intention, right? You don't wake up in the morning to, I don't know, not brush your teeth. I mean, you have to, like, intention. Everything is about intention for me. All right, I'll be taking a couple more questions to make up for all the Nala moments earlier. So I also live in Dubai. Ah, nice. Well, you know, it's the simplest answer to that is actually my passport. I don't have a great passport. Sri Lankan passport is one of the crappiest on the planet. No ease of travel whatsoever. So I would love to travel around. I'm not really particularly keen on moving somewhere yet, but I would like to travel around more, which is what I'm working towards right now. And the awesome thing about Dubai is its geographical location and its access in general. It's very accessible. So that's why I like being here at the moment. It's worked out in my favor in many ways that I couldn't have imagined in the past. So yeah, while it would be nice to be out in the US or in Europe or the UK even, Brexit, you know, it is what it is. I've come to terms with it and I'm just making it work. Thank you for that question, by the way. That's a nice question. How should you contact me for a lesson? Drop me an email, which I'm typing out right now. Drop me an email and we can get to scheduling a lesson or two or 100, whatever you want. How do I balance practicing multiple instruments? Yeah, that's a tricky one, especially lately because I've been practicing a lot of drums. I started going back to my traditional grip and been practicing a lot of stuff. So it's hard to balance the three, but I don't really put a schedule saying, okay, Monday is bass, Tuesday is guitar. I don't do that. Maybe I should, I don't know. But so far it's tricky, but it's not a struggle. It's not killing me in any way. Bass is still my main thing, but I still practice a lot of guitar and drums. So it's hard overall to balance it out properly. Yeah, the Dean basses are a little weird. The pickups are too far for me, for my taste as well. Man, slap bass it's a disease. So I've gotten so many times, you know, I'm like standing there and going, and then this is one guy slap the bass. It's like, I give up. There's no fighting that. How often do I change my strings? I try to do every 2 months at least. I haven't changed my strings now in 5 months. Yeah, I need to order some strings, so thank you for reminding me. Kab Mumbai aa raha ho? I don't know. I'm not sure when I'm coming to Mumbai, bro. Agle saal, who knows? Would you be able to give a lesson on how to start a YouTube channel? I don't know if I'm good enough to do that. I mean, I've been running the channel for like two and a half years, but it's still a lot of work. Cool. Any other questions? What made me decide to stick to playing 4? Injury. I injured my wrist, RSI, and I bust a nerve. So I used to play a 6-string bass up until then. And the 6-string bass, man, if you're not physically cut out for it, stay away from it, because it can really kill you. It did that to me, and the consequences are bad. So I started playing 4, and then I started liking the 4 overall. It just feels right. Granted, I am getting a 5 soon, but it's custom made. That's why I got it custom made, because I wanted to be specific to my hands, comfortable, and I'm used to a jazz bass neck, so yeah, stuff like that. Do I read books of theory? No. The only book I've actually ever made through is The Advancing Guitarist by Mick Goodrick. That's the only book I've actually managed to go all the way to the end with. Any other book I've gotten bored with very fast. Maybe it's my problem, but I am more of an ear guy. So yeah. Is it true you may cover any chord by any notes and jazz is music without rules? Well, that's a very hard question to answer, but yeah, hard to answer, but there are rules kind of when you practice. When you play music, man, when you play music of any style, there shouldn't be rules. You play heavy metal, you have to headbang. There is no rule book. There are many metal players who don't headbang, and they write weird melodies in heavy metal. That doesn't make it jazz. So just playing funny notes doesn't make anything jazz, basically. So I think that's what I can tell you based on your question. She's all quiet now. Finally. Cool. I think I'll take 2 or 3 more questions. When I play those random things, do I think about chord changes, or do I scale and develop it? All of it, actually. I'm trying to think of a harmonic motion in my head. I'm thinking the scales, and then just developing it. All of it done in real time. So that is actually what improv is about. To improvise is to be able to do this in real time. So that's what I'm actually doing. Whatever you mentioned, all of it. And more. Where did I know all these theories and ideas? I spent so much time exploring myself, because I was extremely fed up of internet resources, to be honest, because everything is so clickbait. Everything is so insincere, and I just started piecing things together myself, and then I wrote down a lot of stuff. I made so many notes. I have notes here with me in Dubai. I have a lot back in Malaysia when I was living there, which I haven't even bothered to pack up and bring here, which I want to, because I have a lot of material that I just wrote and wrote and wrote. So yeah. Jazz, yada yada, can it be done alone? Absolutely, man. I had the pleasure of being mentored by a great musician in Malaysia, a great piano player, Michael Veerapan. But everything I know and have become and learned, at least 70 to 80% is all me, which means I did it by myself, which means anybody can do it. But you need to be focused and determined in order to be able to do anything alone. Yes, I seriously went through the whole thing, Advancing Guitarist. Ever played upright? I used to, but I had to give up because of my wrist. If at any point down the road my wrist feels better, I will pick it up again. I love the upright. It's beautiful. Sure thing, Todd. Look forward to hearing from you. When I listen to a record, I actually don't listen to the bass line. I listen to the drums almost always. Any record, it's my first instrument, you see, drums. I'm drawn to listen to it, and I'm just always drawn to it. So yeah, I don't hear the bass first, but obviously down the road I get into the bass. So, but drums is what I really listen to for the, like in a record. That's the first thing that gets my attention. Sure thing. Just, you know, my email. Drop me an email if you want to take a lesson. Yes, Bill, you're right. It can be learned with the right albums and people to play with. That's basically how you can play any style of music too. You know, the garage band vibes. Okay, so it's late and my eyes are shutting down, so I'm going to wrap this up. So next week, same time. Wait, I should hold on to that. Same time, hopefully with less cat interruptions. Yeah. Hope you all have a good one wherever you are. Good night, good morning, good afternoon. And I'll see you guys next week. Peace out.